All right, get ready, because we're going to jump back in time to 1839. We're doing a deep dive into a really interesting letter written by Joseph Smith, Jr. and other leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, from Liberty Jail.
You got it, Liberty Jail, Missouri.
Wow.
It's March 20th, and they're writing to the members of the church who have fled to Quincy, Illinois.
Yeah.
Picture it. These guys are imprisoned in brutal conditions.
Yeah.
And they're penning this letter.
Yeah.
It's more than just a letter, though.
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
It's a first-hand account of their struggles, their faith, and their views on leadership and divine revelation, all during a really critical time in the early days of the church.
Absolutely. A very critical time. A time of intense persecution.
Exactly.
And upheaval.
Let's dive right into this thing. The letter starts off in a really formal tone, addressing the church in Quincy and Bishop Edward Partridge directly. It's signed by all the prisoners, but most scholars believe Joseph Smith, Jr. was the primary author. It kind of reads like something the Apostle Paul would have written.
You know, that's a really interesting observation. They weren't just sending a casual letter to friends, right?
Right.
They were very intentionally connecting themselves to this lineage of religious authority by echoing the style of Paul's epistles.
Oh, interesting.
Remember, they were fighting for legitimacy in a society that was incredibly hostile towards their beliefs.
Yeah.
So evoking Paul, who also faced persecution,
Of course.
really helped them establish their credibility
Yeah.
and tap into that shared history of suffering for a higher cause.
It really makes you realize how strategic they were, even while they were dealing with such terrible conditions. And speaking of terrible conditions, the letter goes on to describe some of the horrible things that the saints in Missouri faced. Violence, robbery, families driven from their homes.
Yeah.
They even talk about the desecration of graves, which must have been so traumatic for anyone who witnessed it.
It's just awful.
It's heartbreaking.
Absolute.
And these aren't exaggerations.
No, not at all.
Historians have backed up these events, confirming that the persecution of early Mormons was brutal and widespread. It's easy to lose sight of the human cost when we get caught up in the theological debates.
That's true.
But this letter forces us to confront the very real suffering that people endured,
Right.
simply because of their religious beliefs.
It's hard to read some of those accounts, especially when they talk about women being violated, which is clearly a chilling reference.
Wow.
We can't shy away from the fact that this was happening.
No, absolutely not.
This wasn't just about disagreements about religious doctrine. This was about power.
Right.
And control and inflicting pain.
You can really feel the raw emotion as you read Joseph Smith Jr.'s prayer for deliverance in the letter.
Right.
He's pleading directly with God for protection,
Yeah.
listing out the wrongs they've suffered.
And it's not just the intensity of that prayer that stands out, it's the detail.
What do you mean?
He names names.
Wow.
He calls out injustices.
No way.
He directly appeals to God's justice.
That's power.
It really reveals his deep belief in divine intervention.
Yeah.
The belief that God isn't just watching from a distance,
Right.
but is actively involved in their struggle.
Wow. But then the tone shifts, right?
Yeah, I do.
They start talking about getting letters from loved ones.
Right, including one from Emma Smith.
Oh, wow. Joseph's wife. And how those letters brought them hope in this dark time.
Yeah, you can imagine being cut off like that.
Imprisoned.
Not knowing what's happening to the people you love.
Exactly.
These letters were a lifeline.
Yes.
A reminder of the community that they were fighting for.
It's a beautiful example of the power of human connection, even in the face of such adversity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just a morale boost.
Right.
Joseph Smith Jr. actually says that those letters opened the door for inspiration.
Oh, interesting.
He claims that he received divine pronouncements in response to that prayer.
So the letter shifts from suffering to divine authority.
Yeah. Now you have pronouncements of judgment against their enemies. Prophecies of tribulation for those who persecuted the saints.
What a contrast.
It is.
And they get specific, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The letter outlines the consequences.
It's like divine payback.
I can't even imagine how the church members in Illinois would have felt reading this.
Oh, I know.
A message of hope and vindication after everything they'd been through.
Absolutely. We have to remember their context.
Right.
These were people who were desperate for reassurance.
Of course.
They needed to know that their pain was not in vain.
Exactly.
These pronouncements offered them a vision of ultimate justice.
Right.
A promise that God saw their suffering and would right the wrongs.
Okay, but it wasn't all about future judgment.
That's right.
The letter also talks about the very practical challenges of rebuilding the church.
Yes.
Think about it. They were scattered, displaced.
Their leader was imprisoned.
Exactly. Where do you even begin to rebuild after such a devastating experience?
It is really fascinating,
Isn't it?
to see how they dealt with leading a traumatized and scattered community.
And Joseph Smith Jr.,
Yep.
even in prison,
Yeah.
was still trying to guide the church.
He was getting reports about potential settlements,
Right.
land deals, all this stuff that comes with starting over in a new place.
There was even an offer from a land speculator.
Isaac Galland.
Yeah, to sell land to the church. But instead of deciding from prison, what did he do?
He urged church leaders to hold a conference and send him the minutes for approval.
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
Here he is claiming to be a prophet,
Right.
but he's advocating for a democratic decision-making process.
I know. It suggests that he understood the limitations of just leading from authority, especially in a crisis.
Yeah.
This focus on consensus building was probably vital to keeping everyone together
Absolutely.
during a very unstable time.
But the letter doesn't shy away from internal criticism either. There are warnings against pride and deception aimed at what they call an aspiring spirit that caused problems in the past.
What they mean by that is this tendency towards ambition and pride
Right, yeah.
that they felt had led to poor choices,
Yeah.
which ultimately contributed to their suffering. They're acknowledging past mistakes.
Wow, that's pretty big of them
It is.
to admit that,
Yeah.
especially in that situation.
They're urging the church to take a more humble and collaborative approach to leadership.
That's interesting.
It is. It really is. They even explicitly link this aspiring spirit to some of the hardships they faced.
Wow.
Implying that a lack of humility and good judgment played a role in their predicament.
It seems like they're trying to prevent those mistakes from happening again.
Absolutely. They're encouraging self-reflection,
Yeah.
both for leaders and for the community as a whole.
That focus on introspection is really interesting
It is.
because it's directly tied to their advice on seeking revelation and knowledge. It's interesting to see such a nuanced perspective on leadership, especially given everything that was going on.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something really important here.
Yeah.
The letter isn't just saying be obedient or have blind faith.
Right.
It grapples with some really complex issues.
Like what?
Leadership, decision-making,
Okay.
the need for spiritual guidance, and also practical wisdom.
I wonder what those early church members thought when they read this.
Oh, I know, right?
It's not just a pep talk.
No.
It's a challenge to think critically
Yeah.
about their leadership and how to build a stronger community.
Exactly. And that emphasis on critical thinking is really tied to their discussion of revelation and knowledge.
Oh, interesting.
This part of the letter is fascinating. It speaks to anyone who's interested in how we know things and how we connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, so they believe in divine revelation,
Yeah.
but it's not some magical download, right?
No, not at all.
They talk about fervent prayer and faith.
Right, but also careful thinking,
Oh, okay.
discernment,
Interesting.
and a willingness to wrestle with these big ideas.
So it's more than just blind faith
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
or just accepting religious dogma.
Right. They're describing a path to a deeper understanding that involves both spiritual seeking and intellectual engagement.
It's active,
Very much so.
engaging.
It is.
I like that. And they're not content with surface level knowledge either. They talk about hidden mysteries,
Yeah.
things kept secret since the beginning of the world, just waiting to be revealed.
They're hinting at a future explosion of knowledge, a new era of understanding.
That's powerful stuff.
This idea of a new dispensation of knowledge is central to Mormonism.
Yeah.
It's driven so much exploration and research, theology, history, even science, as people try to uncover those hidden truths.
So it's not about holding on to existing doctrines.
No, it's about constantly seeking and evolving.
Growing.
Exactly. Expanding their understanding of the divine.
But they also warn against letting,
Ignorance.
yes, ignorance, superstition, and bigotry
Right.
obstruct the flow of truth into the church. What do they mean by that?
Well, they were up against opposition from both inside and outside the church.
Okay.
Inside, maybe they were talking about those who resisted new revelations or clung to old interpretations of Scripture.
Oh, I see.
Outside, it was a condemnation of those who persecuted them.
Right, spreading lies and prejudice
Exactly.
to justify their violence.
Yeah.
They use this image of a pure stream being muddied by a mountain torrent.
Powerful image, right.
So powerful.
Illustrates how external forces can corrupt truth.
Wow.
It's fragile.
Yeah.
And we need to protect it.
And they name names, right?
They do. They call out lying priests, thieves, and murderers. Very bold, especially from their position.
But it shows how strongly they felt.
Yeah, they believed they were fighting for something sacred.
But even with all those threats, they're so confident
I know.
that truth will win in the end.
It's like their beliefs are rooted in something fundamental, beyond human control.
They compare their cause to these forces of nature.
Right.
Water, fire, the flow of the Missouri River.
Those aren't just metaphors.
No.
They believed these truths were powerful forces.
Unstoppable.
Right?
Like the Missouri River.
It's a perspective that helped them through incredibly hard times.
It's so inspiring.
It is.
To see that resilience. They even write that walls and iron doors are only calculated to make the soul of an honest man feel stronger than the powers of hell.
Turning their imprisonment into a testament to the power of faith.
Yeah. Powerful stuff.
It is. It really is. They're saying that physical confinement can't break their spirit.
Or their connection to God.
Exactly.
And there's this idea that suffering, while painful, can actually strengthen their commitment to God.
It might be hard to grasp for those of us who haven't faced that kind of persecution.
Yeah.
But it shows a deep spiritual resilience.
And they acknowledge the pain.
Oh, yeah.
The fear.
The longing for freedom.
But they also see it as a way to purify their faith.
And draw them closer to God.
It's a powerful perspective.
It is, and it's not just about their own experience either.
Right.
They connect their suffering to the suffering of the entire community.
The saints who'd been driven from their homes, separated from their family.
Exactly. They're speaking to that collective pain.
Offering comfort and guidance.
It's leadership.
Yeah.
That goes way beyond their prison cell.
It's that sense of shared suffering.
Yeah.
That really resonates.
It makes it more than just some abstract idea.
Right.
It's real, it's raw, it's honest.
About how to keep your faith when things are truly terrible.
And that's why people are still drawn to this letter today.
Inside and outside of Mormonism.
And it's a glimpse into faith, leadership.
And resilience.
In a world that can feel hostile and uncertain.
It's like a reminder.
That even in dark times,
the
human spirit can endure.
Resist.
And come out stronger.
But we need to remember that amidst all the heavy stuff, this letter also has moments of humor.
Oh, absolutely.
A personal connection.
It's grounded in the reality of their situation.
They send love to their families.
They mention their wives, children, parents, siblings.
It reminds us they're real people.
Going through something unimaginable.
They even make fun of Elder Sidney Rigdon.
Oh, yeah.
For not writing.
They say it has not been signified to us by his pen scrawl.
It's funny.
It is, even in tough times.
Yeah.
You find ways to connect.
Right. To find moments of joy.
Exactly. It humanizes the whole experience.
They also mention the fable of the bear and the two friends.
Oh, that's interesting.
To talk about loyalty and betrayal.
Right. It's subtle.
But it's a powerful message.
About standing up for what's right.
And supporting those who stand by you, especially in times of danger.
Exactly. True strength isn't just about individual resilience.
It's about the bonds of trust that hold a community together.
I love how they weave these lighter moments throughout this heavy letter.
It's a reminder that they're multifaceted people.
Capable of deep thought and playful banter.
That combination of depth and humanity
is what makes this letter so compelling.
It really is a testament to faith, leadership, and the resilience of the human spirit. It's amazing to think about this letter.
Yeah.
Written under such horrible conditions.
Right.
But full of so much wisdom and humor and raw emotion.
I know, it's incredible.
We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From the depths of their suffering to their spiritual hopes.
Right.
But I keep thinking about the letter's legacy.
That's a good point.
What kind of impact did it have on the church? And how do its messages apply today, even outside of Mormon history?
That's a great question, and I think it really gets at the power of this letter.
Okay.
To go beyond its original context.
You mean it's more than just a historical document?
Exactly. It's a living thing.
How so?
It still shapes beliefs.
Oh, wow.
Inspires action and offers guidance to anyone looking for meaning.
For Mormons, it's foundational, right?
Absolutely.
It helps them understand their own history of persecution.
Right.
And the nature of leadership.
And the ongoing search for revelation.
It's been quoted so many times.
Countless times.
In sermons.
In Sunday school.
It's even part of the Doctrine and Covenants.
It's had a huge impact.
On how Mormons view their faith.
And their place in the world.
It's easy to see why.
Yeah.
Its themes of resilience, faith, and the idea that suffering can refine you.
They resonate with anyone who's faced hard times.
Right.
It's almost like a guide.
A guide for what?
For how to endure trials.
Yeah.
A reminder that God is with us, even in darkness.
And beyond the religious stuff.
Uh-huh.
There's also this powerful message about searching for knowledge.
Yes.
Pushing beyond the limits of conventional wisdom.
They weren't satisfied with just accepting what they've been told. They wanted deeper truths.
Yeah.
A bigger vision of God and the universe.
That's something we can all relate to, right?
Absolutely. That thirst for knowledge is important.
It drives us to explore and question.
It's at the heart of human progress.
So this letter is kind of a testament to curiosity.
It is, to that desire to understand more.
And even though it comes from a specific time and place, its messages are universal.
Resilience, truth-seeking, growth through suffering.
They resonate with so many people and communities.
Absolutely. Think about all the movements for social justice.
The fight for civil rights.
The struggle for freedom and equality.
They all share that same spirit of resilience.
That we see in this letter.
It shows what we're capable of.
Even when things seem impossible.
We can endure, resist, and create a better future.
That's the power of the human spirit.
This letter from a tiny jail cell has become a message of hope.
It is.
What do you think it is about this letter that makes it so powerful for people today?
Even people outside of the Mormon faith.
I think it's the honesty,
Yeah.
the vulnerability,
Yeah.
the raw emotion.
It's not just some abstract ideas.
No.
It's real. It's human.
These are cries from the heart,
Full of pain and doubt.
but also unwavering hope.
To see these men who are seen as prophets
Yeah.
struggling with those emotions.
It's relatable.
It does, and more inspiring because of it.
We all have moments of doubt and fear.
Absolutely.
So to see these guys who are revered in their faith wrestling with the same things,
It makes them human.
and that makes the letter more than just a historical document.
It's a testament to the human spirit.
It's a source of inspiration and guidance,
For anyone
no matter their background or beliefs.
who's trying to figure out faith, leadership, and resilience.
In a world that's often chaotic and confusing. So as we finish up this deep dive, here's something to think about.
Okay.
What will you take away from this? How will you use these ideas of resilience, faith, and pursuing truth?
In your own life.
Because this letter may be old,
Yeah.
but its words are still relevant today.
Challenging us to be courageous.
To have integrity.
And to commit to making the world better.
Just like those guys in prison almost 200 years ago.
Powerful stuff.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
This was a great deep dive.
Until next time.